DBS community, welcome back to another deck profile here with Kyle Chris, and today I'm actually going to be bringing you guys my Store Champs food deck profile. We've had 3 different Store Champs that I've actually been able to go to over the past month. We were able to take second in 2 of them, playing Cumber, which I actually will have that video I think on the channel at some point. I ended up getting second place with Cumber twice, so didn't end up quite getting the winner stamp. However, we switched over to Foo for the last one, and we ended up taking the win, going undefeated. I actually only lost one. We played a best of 3. I only actually lost 1 game the entire time. So I wanted to go over the deck. I'm very high on this deck. Made a few changes from the deck profile we put out. Actually before the anniversary box support came out. So I wanted to go over the list and some of the changes, and just go over just talking about this deck in general. So this is going to be a long video, so for those who don't like long videos, I'm sorry. But if you want to learn a lot about the food deck, I don't think I'm the perfect pilot for the deck, but just because I'm not that, narcissistic, but I will say I'm a very good pilot for this deck. I would say know it in and out, but I know it pretty well, I feel like. So, yeah, so we've got the winner stamp there. And we'll go over the deck itself. So, Foo is a different beast than a lot of black decks that we've had in the game, which I think is why it's so popular and just kind of a fan favorite. So this is sort of a mid-range control deck. I would say it kind of leans more towards the control style for the way that I play it, which is my play style anyways. I mean, I play Hatchiak, like I like slow grindy decks, and this deck fills that void very, very well. So activate main on both sides is the same outside of one little caveat. So on this side, you draw a card and you can take up to 1 life, and you search top 5 and you add a Cumber or Foo card to your Z deck face up. So being face up, as I said in the other video, you can't use it. You can't play those cards for Z energy because they don't have a Z energy cost. They just count towards the total number in your Z deck. So that's the important part there, okay? You awaken at 4 life, which is the only downside, I think, to the deck. And then on this side, you have the same effect, but now you don't take a life. You just draw a card, and you do the same thing. Search top 5, add a Foo or a Cumber. And then the bottom effect is actually battle. You, I think it's just any card, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, if it's your opponent's turn, you choose one of your black Cumber cards in rest mode, and you revert that attack to that card. So it doesn't matter what they're attacking. They can be attacking your leader, a unison, a battle card. You can revert that attack. Doesn't matter, to a Cumber card, which is very good. You basically can just it's just like the most like dirtiest combat trick you possibly could have. That's once per turn. So big thing with this deck is I play it very slow, so I'm probably not awakening until turn 3, turn 4 sometimes. And I'm generally not taking my own life. If it's against a matchup that has like crit, I will probably end up taking my own life a little bit. So I'm not taking so much crit damage. But more than likely I'm awakening like turn 3. If my opponent wants to aggro me down and force me to awaken on turn 2, I'm gonna have like 15, 16 cards in hand, and I'm just gonna outvalue them from that point. So this deck is by far right now my favorite black deck. Slightly better than Cumber in the sense that it is more of a control deck, while Cumber is mid-range. It is a mid-range deck, but that can lean into aggro. This deck, you're not really wanting to lean into aggro. You want to go late game, especially with the build that I have. So we will go over the Z deck first. So not really part of the Z deck, but obviously your tokens. You gotta, if you're playing black, you gotta play the tokens. And then we have we'll start with the actual archetype cards, right? So we have 1 Foo's Lab. So Foo's Lab is a 1-cost Z extra card. You play it, and then you activate main. You can choose a Foo Z battle card with Z stack as a keyword, and add a Cumber from your deck face up underneath it. So you can add any Cumber from underneath it. And then activate main. The bottom effect, or activate battle. You can pop this card and discard a card from your hand. You get to play a a Cumber card, cost of 6, from your Z deck face up in rest mode with the skills negated, which then allows you to kind of activate battle combo here. So even if you don't have a Cumber in play, if you have one in your Z deck, your opponent can't ever hand dump because you can just use this effect. And to pair that, we have 2 of the food that comes with this deck. Has Z stack as a mechanic on it, so you can actually Z stack a Cumber from your Z deck when you play it. It's got deflect. It also has a permanent. It can't be removed once per turn by skills. So if your opponent pops it or something, or they try to bottom deck it, it's just going to stick at least one time. And then activate main, you search top 5 and you add a Fu or a Cumber from your deck to your Z deck face up. So the same thing essentially as your leader effect. You're just not drawing a card. And then we have the Fu from the Cumber deck. So this guy gets play sometimes. I'm thinking about cutting it and just adding another one of these Fus, but this card it's more of like a big brain play. So the Z stack mechanic only stacks 2 or less, and you can't stack any of the other Cumbers from off of that. But it's got barrier and deflect, and that's it. Like the Overlord effect, you cannot use. It's tied to evil Saiyans and Cumbers, so don't let people say that you can do that. You cannot do that. The bottom effect doesn't matter because we're not Z stacking a 2-cost Cumber. So why are we playing this stuff, right? Well, the Cumbers that we'll show you in the deck actually play from underneath these guys off of their own effect. And then this card, you can put them underneath. So like this card is really good in matchups that have good removal. Because this Fu's going to die more than likely on your opponent's turn. If they have spot removal, they're going to get rid of it. If they're not good players, they won't get rid of it. If they're a good player, they're going to try to get rid of this card. But this card having barrier at least allows it to get around some stuff and kind of forces your opponent to tech in cards to remove this card. So just another target. Like a good thing, it's like Frieza Swap, right? So like Frieza Swap can just tap down this Fu and just kill it by going up their chain, and that's really annoying. So being able to play this guy at least will survive long enough so then you can actually use the effect. Other parts of the Z deck, we have 2 Goku cross-dimensional fighting spirit. 1-drop, 2 Z energy, warps a card on play, and then you can remove 10 cards from your warp or drop, and it gets 10k in double strikers. So it's the 1-drop 25k double striker that warps a card, and then 1 Boo. So the reason why we swapped this from last time, I think I said this in the video, is that Boo's effect is limit 1, so you can't double Boo in the same turn, but you can double Goku, and that's good. So like if you don't have a big hand and you're kind of in that last turn where you just kind of need to push for damage, you can go double Goku and a Boo for 3 energy if you have the Z energy for it, or you can just go double Goku and just annihilate your opponent. This is just so much value in this deck. So we try to keep the actual archetype cards as low as possible so we can run this stuff, because you do need to run Z battle cards that actually do stuff. Running too many of these is just not. My deck is not fully focused on playing this stuff out. I'll probably keep, like I said, I'll probably use 1 Fu for most of the games unless it gets removed, and then I'll play another one. But you're never really, you want to just, you're going to establish this guy, use 1 of these, and then you're probably going to use all of these every game. So that is the Z deck. We'll go over the main deck here. So we run 8 total targets of the Fu 1-drop. So I do not run the other Fu. I think it's called Supreme Intellect. That card's not very good. So these can be played from your hand for 1. You can choose a up to 1 Fu in your Z deck face up and add it to your hand, which would be in there from your leader effect. And you have to add a Cumber card from your hand to your Z deck face up. So it cycles, basically puts the Cumbers into the Z deck, which is where they need to be. Then you can add the Fu cards from your Z deck to your hand. So you can kind of swap them out. This guy searches top 5, adds a Fu or a Cumber card to your hand. This guy is just a 1-drop cantrip. Both are very good cards, but we only play these because the other card doesn't actually draw us cards, so we don't play that guy. I think he like warps a 5 or less. It's just not very good. I found that I can just run other stuff that gives me better value, so definitely just going to stick to running 4 and 4 of these. I do have another Fu that I run as a 1 of, which is Mission Accomplished. This card did not come up, but there were times where I could have used it. I just decided not to. So it's a Fu, so you can search it off the effects and just add it to your Z deck, whatever. But then you can, for 2 energy, you can remove this card from the drop, and you can add any battle card that costs, I think it's 7 or less, right? Battle card from drop or warp that costs 7 or less. So I would use this to grab back particular negates that will show off in the deck, but mainly I would use it for super combos. So you would use this card to grab back super combos. This is also just a very good card to pitch off of your combos, so you can get a card in your Z deck to get a card in your Z energy to go into your Z deck to play out the lab and everything like that. So this card's very good for that. I might add a second one depending on how the meta changes, but at least one of these cards for sure. I think it's just a great tech. For the Cumbers, very similar. I only run 8 total Cumber targets. I do not run the combo guy. I do not think he's a very good card. These cards both have on-play effects, while the other Cumber has to swing to get his effect, and I don't like that. So we have Overwhelming Fight. Both of these cards can be played from underneath a Fu with Z-Stack off of their own effect for free, and it's limit 1. So you can't play multiple of the same card in the same turn. So they both have Servant. They're both 10k Servant, so they're 20k bodies. And this card comes into play and warps any battle card. So this card's great for spot removal. You just pop things on board. This guy is my favorite. This one warps a card from your opponent's hand. This is by far my favorite card to play. I will play this card every single turn, just back to back to back to back. And we have ways of recycling it in the deck too. So this is the better one to play. But this one's good to play just spot removal, so you can use it to spot removal a card in active mode and then swing out a card in rest mode. These are 20k, so your opponent like a 15k leader has to represent 2 cards from hand or a super combo every time you attack with one of these, or else they're just gonna die basically. So, but yeah, these are the ones that we run. Like I said, the other Cumber is okay. But it has to swing to get its effect, and I don't like that. There's a lot of turns where, like turn 2, turn 3, I'm not going to swing with these against a lot of decks. I'm just going to spot remove or warp cards from their hand. And if I can swing into a battle card, I will. If I can swing into a battle card, I will. That way I can at least do my leader effect. But I'm going to starve you out of resources as much as possible by taxing your hand and your board, to the point where then I can just kill you from like 6-0, from 5-0, or something like that. Which happened a lot of my games, unless my opponent was trying to aggro me down. One of the best tech cards for this deck is Mecha Dark Ruler, so I amped this up to 4. This card is fantastic. So it's a 1-drop cantrip, and then also has Overlord, meaning you can bottom deck your Servant cards, which then allows you to draw a card. Then when you activate, it says when you activate Overlord, not specifically off of this card, but if you activate Overlord limit 1, you get to play a Demon Realm token, which is 5k value. So you also can use this to swing and stuff if you want to. There are some times where that does happen, but generally this one card is creating 10k combo between the two of these, and then it's drawing you 2 cards. Then if this card sticks on board, you're going to gain more value by playing these guys back out because you bottom deck them. Your leader then can reshuffle your deck, so then you can get them back out, back into rotation. And then you just play them out again. You play them out again, you use their effect, you swing at them, you bottom deck them off this, draw a card, add another card. A lot of times I would have like 2 of these cards on board, 2 or 3 of these tokens on board, and just use them for combo power. And if this card sticks on board, I'm just outvaluing my opponent at that. Because then I'm not using cards from hand to combo out of stuff. I'm using these tokens that I can just replenish and then draw cards off of. So definitely for this card, that's not going to change. This card is fantastic. We run 2 Berserk Gokus. Kind of pairing with the Mecha it's an Overlord. It's an Overlord target. It's a 25k double striker if your leader's black, because it gets Servant. And then this card has a cool combo effect, which people still don't know how this card works. So when you combo this guy, you choose a card you choose a card of yours and you give it 10k for the battle, and then this card gets played on your opponent's side of the board. They gain control over the card. This card is limit 1, but it's limit 1 per person. So now if your opponent has this card and they combo with it, they have to give a card 10k. So if they don't give the card 10k, if they just combo it, they don't get the combo power. So just make sure that, not saying you need to let your opponent know, but if you're playing against this card, you need to know how it works. And then your opponent plays it on your side. They cannot choose to not play it. It's going to play on your board. So it's either they use it to combo out of something, and then now they give you a 25k double striker. Again, it's just another target for Overlord. But this card's fantastic. It helps you push a lot. So like you can swing with these guys, and now you're swinging for 30k instead of 20k. it just becomes kind of a nuisance, and you can kind of push your opponent down farther early on when they don't want to, or for late game pushes, just being able to just combo one of these is crazy. Then we get to the big guys. We have the big Cumbers. So 3 and 3 of the Cumber cards here. My not $25 Cumber cards. So we have 3 of the champ card, 3 of the set Cumber. I probably would run 4 of these, but I don't own a 4th SPR, and I don't actually know if I can actually fit a 4th one in the deck. I think 3 seems to be fine. So both of these cards can actually be played out for 1 by different effects. So you need to have 3 energy and a Cumber in your drop or your warp, and you can play this guy. This guy will suck up a Cumber from the drop of the warp. You have to use it. You have to absorb a Cumber. If you don't absorb a Cumber, you cannot play this guy for 1. And then when it's played, you get the Warp a Battle card, ignoring barrier, with an equal or greater, equal or less than energy cost to the cards in your Z deck. So again, all of the cards you're putting in your Z deck face up with this guy count towards your cost. So you can end up warping 8, 9, 10 Ks, or 8, 9, 10 drop cards, ignoring barrier. Can't warp tokens, but you have other things for that. But being able to just warp literally any battle card, meaning a lot of strategies that rely on barrier cards, you can just get rid of. Like this deck, I haven't played against Trunks Cheetah yet, but in theory, this deck just shits on Trunks Cheetah because you're just gonna remove their Trunkses every single turn. They're not gonna have any value on the board. And then you have this guy. Oh, sorry. Actually, other effect on this guy. If you have 4 more energy, you can discard or detach, or whatever you want to call it, the Cumber from underneath this guy, and then he gains double strike. So then he's a 25k double striker for 1 energy that warps something ignoring barrier. This is incredible value for the deck, and any black deck can play this card. So make sure you have your SPRs now, because actually I need to go buy a 4th one. And then we have Cumber, extreme offense. You can play it for 1 if you have a Foo in play. So it does not count for your leader. Your leader is not in play, so you can't use it off your leader. You can use it off the Z battle cards or a Foo battle card in general. When this card's played, you draw a card and you give a card servant until the end of your opponent's next turn. And that's it. The second effect you have to be Cumber for. So this card's actually very, very... I think this card's better in Cumber because when you swing with it, if your leader's Evil Saiyan or Cumber, right? Yeah, if your leader's a Cumber card, you can combo with a servant card on your opponent's side of the board. So this card's definitely better in Cumber. One thing I guess I would change, if I could, I would probably take out one of these to run a 4th Cumber. That's probably the only change. That's a slight tweak, though. That just kind of depends on what you're playing against. But not going to go lower than 6 copies total between these guys. And you can't really go up because you don't really have space. I think we're at like 53 cards. So you can't really go up. But this card, honestly, I charged this card a fuck ton. So, again, like I said, I think 3 is probably too many. I think 2 is probably the better amount to run in this deck, and then run 4 of this guy. This guy just puts in more work, I feel like. And then we have the Foo card, which kind of makes this deck run middle and late game. So it's a 2 cost. Your opponent has to have 3 energy. Yeah, your opponent has to have 3 energy. That's right. This guy, you can play on your turn 3 if you have 3 energy and your opponent doesn't have 3 energy. This card, your opponent needs 3 energy. So you play this guy for 2. Then you get to play either one of these guys from your Z deck face up or your drop area. So you get to play a 25k dual attacker and then one of these guys, which then both gain their on-play effects. So this guy will warp something ignoring barrier. This guy will draw you a card and give something servant. So this card's locking something down and giving you a card in hand. This card's removing a card off the board. It's very good. Then this card is a 25k dual attacker with Overlord, meaning you can bottom deck any of your servant targets, but then also activate battle. You can give one of your Cumber cards servant until the end of your opponent's next turn, meaning you can make this guy a 25k attacker, you can make this guy a 35k attacker, and then you can bottom deck them afterwards. The dual attacker is limit 1, so if you have multiple of these cards on board, you cannot swing twice with both. I think that was kind of stupid from Bandai to do, because they haven't done that with any other card. I don't know why they do that with the black card. So, but that's like the only problem with this card, is that you can't swing multiple times with multiple Foos. So you're swinging twice with one Foo and then once with another Foo. I mean, that's if this card survives. More likely this card's going to get popped because no one likes to keep this card on board. So, yeah, this again not changing. You're gonna run 4 this guy, 3 and 3, or 4 and 2. Just kind of depends on your fancy there. So now for my tech, my favorite tech choice of this deck, which I thought I was running 3, but apparently I'm only running 2. But this is probably gonna get bumped up to 3. Is King Vegeta, Kingdom Lost. I saw this in another deck profile with Broken Honor. So I was like, cool. I'm glad I wasn't the only person who thought this card was completely snapped in this deck. So if your opponent has 3 or more cards in the warp, this card costs 2, and you play it. It's a 19k double striker with barrier, unique. And your opponent uses to choose a card from your opponent's hand and warp it, or a card on board. But of course, you're going to snipe a card from your opponent's hand, because that's the best part of this, right? Just sniping cards from their hand that they need. Super combos, big negates, secret rares, whatever it is. And then if the card's in rest mode, if your opponent attacks your leader, they have to warp a card from their hand once per turn. So this card's going to at least eat up 1 card from hand, and then at least 1 attack. Unless they have barrier removal. So like there's certain matchups, this card is just getting sided out at, because, or you should not rely on it to eat up attacks because they have barrier removal. Like in the mirror match, like in black decks, this card's just getting sided out because it's not going to do anything. But other matchups, just being able to just tax your opponent's hand with this and with the Jet Hostility, you can just eat apart your opponent's hand. And because you're not attacking, or you're just removing stuff on board, you're not giving them extra cards. If they can't take their own life, they're never getting extra value, and you're just going to kind of just remove all their resources and just exhaust them out of what they have, and then you're just going to kill them after that. So this card's probably going to go up to 3, though. So I think that's probably one of the... That's like one of the big changes I would make, is I would run 3. I thought I was running 3, but I thought this card every game at 2. So maybe 2's fine, but we're going to test it with 3, just because I love this card so much. For the Overwhelms, I run 1 Brainwash No More, 1 Beyond All Limits, and then 1 Vegito Volley Attack. So this card can be used as an Overwhelm. It puts back 3 cards, which is kind of cool because you can use it to put back like a Cumber, and then use your food to play the Cumber from your drop. So that's an effect. But this card also keeps your opponent honest. You crit a life and then you don't take damage for the battle. So if they swing at you like a giant triple strike or a quad strike, you can just pop this. But then also you have your leader effect too, so you have 2 ways of kind of just stopping an attack. 1 Goku grabs back anything in the deck essentially, other than super combos and your H-Op foos. So you can grab back literally all of your other Cumber pieces. And then 1 Vegito. For one, I wanted to play it because I have a bunch of these winter stamps, and this card's beautiful looking. I wanted to try it out. It's okay. If you have 2 or more, if your opponent has 2 more energy when this card swings at a battle card, if it KOs it, you restand this card, and this card can attack cards in active mode. So the one reason why I like this card so much is that this card is going to guarantee it's going to eat a negate. Guaranteed. So in some situations when you want to have one of your double strikers go through, or something even bigger, using this card to bait out a counterplay is fantastic. Your opponent will, like 90% of the time, if they have a negate, they're going to negate this attack, so you don't continue to swing, which is fine. Like I thought it was okay. Going forward, I'm actually probably going to remove Beyond All Limits and find a way to add... I might even cut the Vegito and find a way to just run Feigned Greeting. I think Feigned Greeting is the better Overwhelm for this deck right now, with the way that I want to play it. Actually, don't even know if I have any Feigned Greeting around here to even show you guys. I'm sure people know what Feigned Greeting does, but... Feigned Greeting is a Overwhelm 6. This guy, yeah. Okay, I do have 1. I need to get my other copy. I think I have like 2 or 3 of these. I gotta find them. So it's an Overwhelm 6, and then your opponent warps a card from their hand. So because I'm kind of going with this sort of like warping hand destruction sort of vibe, this card actually I think would be better than Beyond All Limits. Because you're probably only going to use it once, like 1 Overwhelm per game. So you're just kind of picking which one you want to use. I think being able to warp something from their hand, while also like using this to warp a card from their hand, while also using this to warp a card from their hand, like you're just going to be able to tax your opponent out late game. So I think I'm going to end up running Feigned Greeting, potentially. I tried I tried not BMS. I tried Secret ID. That one's okay too. I tried the combination of Goku and Vegeta. That's okay. The slot for Overwhelm is pretty open in this deck, so it's just kind of what your preference is. So I'm probably going to go to Feigned Greeting and then potentially keeping the Vegito in here. And this card, like I said, it counts as an Overwhelm, but you're not really using it generally for the Overwhelm. You're going to be using it for the Activate Battle effect. For Vegetas, we tried the Evil Saiyan not Secret Rare. We tried the Evil Saiyan Super Combo. I think you have to have a Z battle card, a Z leader, or 2 or more Z energy, and it's a 10k combo that draws you a card. It's okay. This one is a bottom deck draw 2. I'm going to always run this card and just until they print a better one. Bandai, you need to give us a draw 2 warp 1 super combo for black. I think that'd be great. Fantastic card if we could get it. So for the negate package, we have 2 Gohan, 2 Petrification, 2 Support, 1 Power Burst. All do different things in the deck. Power Burst was used maybe once or twice. Not great. I think I might find a different negate to run for this. I wasn't a huge fan of the Power Burst in the main deck. Gohan did its job. Petrification, of course, did its job. Token negate, I might run a 3rd token negate. That might be what we end up doing. I think token negate. I think that the token negate was fairly adequate. The Power Burst, like I said again, just didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do, but the concept's there. Use it as a negate. You can Sparking 5. You can grab back a 1-drop, which we don't run a ton of 1-drops in this deck, so maybe that's why I didn't feel the usage for it. So this might end up getting changed or just cut completely. I won 1 final negate, which was 2 Oceanus. This for sure is going to get bumped up to 3, whether I need to run a 3rd one in the side deck or something. So with yellow, and this was, I talked about this in the video last time, is that yellow seems to be the hardest matchup for this deck. So having a counterplay that your opponent has to pay 3 for to stop the effect is pretty good, especially in yellow. So what I mean by that is this card comes down, you discard a card from your hand, and this card hits. If this card hits the board, your opponent has to mill 4 cards every time they want to attack, and it's got blocker, right? The bottom effect doesn't matter because we're not Xeno Sin. So what I say, like against yellow, is that this card cannot be T-blowed, obviously, because all the text is in the green. So the card's gonna hit the board. It's gonna negate the blocker effect, but then they still have to mill 4 every time they attack. And then you have the ability of stopping at least 1 attack with your Activate Battle. Not to mention, if this card does hit the board with blocker, you have a blocker here that you're gonna stop, and then you have your Activate Battle. So you're stopping 2 attacks. They're milling 8 cards before they actually even get a chance to attack you. Most people aren't gonna do that. You also have some good pitch targets, like you have like Cumber cards that you can pitch. You have the 1 Fu Mission Accomplished you can pitch. But this card's gonna get bumped up to 3 for sure. This card won me my yellow matchup, and I think going forward this card's gonna win me every one of my yellow matchups just because yellow hates playing against this card. The secret rare that we played today was Evil Saiyan. I'm not actually happy with it. Again, I said this in the last video. I think Pan is a better secret rare. And I think Pan paired with Oceanus is actually a better combination. I just never wanted to pay 2 for this guy. I think I played it 1 time. And it won me the game, but also I probably could have won without having the card. But I get the concept for it, like warping something, possibly taking a life, possibly taking a card from the warp, and then also stopping the first card your opponent decides to play each turn, which also can stop, floodgates from occurring. The card is fantastic, so I'm not going to knock the card for being great because the card is great. I just think for this deck, I think paying 2 for a secret rare is actually too much because there's other things I want to pay energy for. So again, Pan is an option. I think Pan is fantastic. The other option, which I would have actually played today, but currently one of my friends actually is borrowing it, which is the Supreme Kai Brainwash, which is a Activate Battle. You play it for 1. It's a 40k Servant double striker, so it's a 50k double striker. And then you can also pay an energy to remove it from the game, which then will floodgate your opponent next turn. If they attack with a battle card or a unison, they have to warp a life each time. So it's kind of like a floodgate. I think that card might be the choice that I play with. I've tested it with a little bit on untap, and I felt like it was really good. But we went with this today. Again, This card is completely dependent on the meta. So like with all the yellow and that's running around, this card sucks to play into yellow. It does not feel good. I feel like every time I play this card in the yellow, I lose. So that's why I don't play it a lot against yellow decks. Mainly because like they just play Vegito and then you can't stop the Vegito effect. So again, I think this might become Pan. If I can get my Brainwash back before the next event when I play this deck, I'll probably end up playing Brainwash, but we'll see. For the side deck, the side deck changed a little bit before I got to the shop today, just because there was some people that weren't going to be there, so I just changed out the cards that I was going to play against them. We have one Broken Seal, mainly for Golden Frieza, so you can call Cooler. Two Gohans for blue, very good in the blue. Also, I play this card a lot into Frieza swap, because you can play this card in the Frieza swap. They can't kill it with their 3-drop, and then you can combo it off to get a Frieza energy. 2 Protector, card came in quite a bit. Any deck that went wide, any yellow deck, any red deck, you're going to play this card into. I sided out Petrification a lot in like yellow matchups for this card, because it's just going to buff me, and then between like being able to use my leader effect once, and then using all of like the combo power, like I'm going to be a 30k leader pretty quickly in my opponent's deck. I want to waste more resources to try to get rid of this. Two Super Kamehameha. So this was actually a best of 3. So I think I took out Petrification. I think it's Petrification. I put Petrification in the side and I ran this. This is a best of 3, but generally in best of 1s, this card's going to be in the side, just because you can just swap them in. One Jiren for decks that play Turning the Tide. I think you just have to be ready for it. And this deck goes long, so there's gonna be a good opportunity for blue decks to drop Turning the Tide. So we just need to be ready. One more Petrification. This came in for if I played against Green Gohan, black decks, so like the Mirror or Cumber. Yellow decks with the stupid Universe at Stake Goku card. Just use this to just stop the card from functioning. One black smoke. It probably would be 2, or I would swap it out for another Broken Seal. The concept of it is to remove unisons, but no one was playing unisons. But I did use it once to just draw 2 cards, so that's kind of cool. I think this card's still very good. You just got to find room for it. 2 Koitsukai. This deck actually feels very good to Koitsukai. So there's a lot of cards in this deck that you can't draw, a la your super combos, a lot of your tech pieces, and your secret rare. You can't draw them because they're not Cumbers or Foos. So this card, you can cycle back your Cumbers back into your deck, your Foos back into your deck, and then draw 2 fresh new cards. And then also tax blue decks and yellow decks when they decide to play shit against you. Also, this card just going to have to be a permanent side deck card because of Cooler coming back into the meta. So you're just going to need to make sure you probably play this. I'm probably going to play 3 of this guy when Cooler becomes a deck. 1, the Dark Banisher. Never came in, but this card's freaking sweet to play. So for 1, you can search it off of all of your Foo cards that search out Foos. Overwhelm 4, it's a triple attacker, 25k, and then permanent. If your opponent activates an effect, they have to warp a card from their hand when they do. So this includes super combos, any keyword skill that they would activate on your turn, negates, autos, all that shit. They have to warp a card from their hand. So you can tax a lot of people. So this goes into against blue decks a lot. I would say I would use this against Gogeta. No one played Gogeta today, thank God, because I would have just steamrolled Gogeta. But this card helps you kind of win that matchup. So essentially, you play this card down against like a Gogeta match. You'll like swing with this or swing with whatever. Probably swing at this first, and then if they block with one of their guys, they have to warp a card. Then if they activate Aegis, they have to warp a card, and they restand 2 energy. I believe that's the same effect, so they have to warp 1 from there. If they use the effects from their Aegis effects to grab cards, you have to warp off that. You can end up warping like 6-7 cards in a turn with this. It's literally just gonna rip their whole hand apart. Gogeta's a very easy matchup for Fu anyways, because you're just able to just hand control them so much without actually attacking them and giving them extra cards. And then you slam this card down and just start swinging, and you're just gonna win the game. Last 2 cards, I would say MVP of the side is the Hatak Dr Lchi new champ card or winner card. I love this card. I love this card so much. So not only does it have Hatak on it, which is like my favorite deck, it's a crazy, crazy good floodgate, and it works especially well against yellow. So it's a 2-drop. It comes in, it warps a battle card. It's a 20k barrier with unique. And then auto is a burst 2. When your opponent attacks with a battle card, you negate the card, you negate that card's attack, and then your opponent cannot attack with battle cards that are 6 or more for the turn. So why this is good, and I sided this in against our resident Majin Vegeta player. So I played this. He swung with his Majin Vegeta, I negated the attack, bursted 2, whatever. That means his Overrealm can't attack with. If he plays a Secret Rare, can't attack with it. If he plays Universe at Stake, can't attack with it. It shuts down a good chunk of that deck. Also against black, like this card actually can do well against black if they don't have the Cumber card in hand and they can't actually hit this card. Like against food decks, I would never play this card, but against like Cumber decks, I'd probably would play this against Cumber, because then it stops literally their entire turn. Against like Black Trunks, again, stops almost their entire turn. So like this card here has a ton of value for it. Just good generic black stuff. I think you have to play it in this deck. Against like other decks, like I tried to play it in Cumber, it doesn't have the same effect. It's not as good. Because 2 energy, I want to use a lot of the other stuff in the deck, but because you're able to free play stuff and you're playing stuff for either for cheap or for free, this card does feel very good. So that is the deck. Matchups were, can't remember if it was 3 or 4 rounds. I played against Go Bros, the green Goten Gohan deck. I 2-0'd that. That's a pretty easy matchup. Now, granted, he was playing the actual like the chain. So I think the deck's actually better play when you just play the 1-drops and Healing Pod and good green stuff. But I think you can still beat that deck because you just have more value. And because you can awaken yourself. They have to go down to 6. And their super combos aren't online. So you can just kind of rip apart their hand. And then take them to 4. So then they can start using their negates. And then start pitching 2 cards from hand every turn. And then you're just going to annihilate them. Round 2, I played against Majin Vegeta. That was the only time I did lose a game. We did go to game 3, but game 2, I sided game 3. I sided this in, and it ended up winning me the game. It was quite nasty playing this guy. Or actually, did I lose the game? I don't remember if I actually lost that game or not. I can't remember. I think I did. It might have been 2 games. It might have been 3 games. I might have been undefeated. I can't remember. It's been that was last night. I don't remember. What else? I played against round 3 was Blue Baby. Yeah, so it was actually just 3 rounds. So yeah, then I played against Blue Baby. We ended up 2-0ing that. Again, just decks that don't go down to 4 life, where they can use their super combos. You just keep them at 6 life as long as you want, just warping cards from their hand and just removing value, and then you just kill them once their hand goes down, because you're gonna have between 12 and 16 cards in your hand almost the entire game. So you can literally combo out of everything. You have cantrips for days, and then you're slowly removing cards from their hand. It's such a good deck. So I hope people give this a shot for playing it as a black deck. Final words, like I said, I think Feigned Greeting is going to go inside. Is going to go in as the primary Overrealm card. I'm going to swap out probably another King Vegeta and maybe some stuff in the side. So things I did not side for. I did not side for 21 because I didn't expect anyone to play 21. But with 21, you just put in Ghost Warriors, and then everything else is basically the same. So that is the deck. I will leave a Deck Planet list as a link so you guys can check it out for anyone who's interested in the deck itself. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I know again it's a long one. That's how it's gonna be. I like discussing the decks. I like talking about it. So for anyone who's stuck with us in the video, appreciate you guys, and I will talk to you guys in the next one.